Writing variant equals standard ID equals 58,371. I was 33 years old when I learned my entire family had celebrated Thanksgiving without me. The worst part wasn't that I missed dinner. It was that nobody even told me it was happening. I found out by accident. What country are you watching from? Comment below. Like, subscribe, share. The morning after Thanksgiving, I was scrolling through social media while drinking cold coffee in my apartment. That's when I saw the photos. My parents smiling beside a perfectly roasted turkey. My brother and his wife posing with pumpkin pie. My cousins gathered around Grandpa's dining table. Everyone was there. Everyone except me. At first, I thought there had to be some mistake. Maybe it was an old picture. Maybe they had planned something small at the last minute. Then I noticed the date stamp. Yesterday. My stomach dropped. I immediately called my mother. She answered on the third ring. "Oh, hey, Holly. Why wasn't I invited?" I asked. A long silence followed. Then she sighed. It was complicated. Complicated. That was the excuse she used after excluding her own daughter from Thanksgiving. I sat there in shock while she stumbled through explanations that made no sense. What hurt even more was realizing this wasn't the first time. I'd been treated differently, but this time someone else had noticed too. Someone who had been quietly watching for years, my grandfather, and what he did next would expose secrets my family desperately wanted buried. Would you like section 2 next? If so, tell me the word count you want. Writing variant equals standard. ID equals 62,485 for the next few days. I tried to convince myself that maybe I was overreacting. Maybe Mom was right. Maybe it really had been complicated. But the more I thought about it, the more painful it became. Nobody had called. Nobody had texted. Not even my brother, who lived 20 minutes away. It felt less like an oversight and more like a decision. Then, 3 days later, my phone rang. It was Grandpa. At 82, he rarely called unless something was important. "Sweetheart," he said softly, "can you come see me tomorrow?" His voice sounded different. Serious. Concerned. The next afternoon, I drove to his house. As soon as I walked in, he wrapped me in a hug. "You didn't deserve what they did," he whispered. I felt tears sting my eyes. "So you knew?" I asked. Grandpa nodded. I knew, and I'm ashamed I didn't stop it sooner. My heart pounded. Sooner? What did he mean by that? He led me into his study and opened a wooden drawer filled with papers, letters, and old documents. Then he looked directly at me. "There are things about this family you don't know." The room suddenly felt smaller. For years, I had believed I was simply the black sheep, the daughter who never quite fit in. But Grandpa's expression told me something much bigger was hiding beneath the surface. "They've been lying to you for a long time," he said quietly. I stared at him in disbelief, and then he pulled out a folder that would change everything. I thought I knew about my family. Writing variant equals standard. ID, don't you? 73164. My hands were shaking as Grandpa slid the folder across the desk. For a moment, I couldn't bring myself to open it. The look on his face told me whatever was inside would change my life forever. "Go ahead," he said quietly. I opened the folder and stared at the documents inside. At first, none of it made sense. There were copies of bank statements, property records, emails, and handwritten notes. Then I saw my name. Again and again. My stomach tightened. Grandpa pointed to one document. "Read that." As I scanned the page, my heart nearly stopped. Years earlier, my grandmother had left a substantial inheritance for all her grandchildren. The money was supposed to be distributed equally, but according to the records, my share had never reached me. I looked up in shock. "What is this?" Grandpa's jaw tightened. "Your parents took control of the account." The room went silent. I felt sick. "They told everyone you didn't want the money," he continued. "They claimed you said you were financially independent and didn't need help." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had never said anything remotely close to that. Then Grandpa showed me printed emails. Messages between family members discussing me behind my back. One sentence hit harder than all the others. If we keep her out of family events, she'll eventually stop asking questions. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. The Thanksgiving exclusion wasn't an accident. It was part of a plan. For years, they had been pushing me farther away while hiding the truth. I looked at Grandpa, struggling to process everything. "What happens now?" I asked. A slow, determined smile appeared on his face. "Now," he said, "they answer for every lie." And for the first time, I realized Grandpa wasn't just exposing them. He was preparing to destroy the story they had spent years building. Writing variant equals standard. ID equals 84,726 the following Sunday. Grandpa called for a family meeting. Nobody thought much of it. After all, he was the family patriarch. When Grandpa asked everyone to come over, they came. I arrived early and sat quietly beside him in the living room. The moment my parents, brother, and cousins walked in and saw me there, the atmosphere changed. My mother's smile disappeared. My brother looked nervous. They knew something was wrong. Once everyone was seated, Grandpa stood up. At 82, his voice wasn't as strong as it used to be. But that day, every word carried weight. "For years," he began, "I've watched this family mistreat one person." The room fell silent. He pointed directly at me. "Her." Nobody spoke. Then Grandpa started laying documents on the table. Bank records, emails, inheritance paperwork. One by one, he exposed everything. Choose. Every lie. Every excuse. Every secret conversation. My mother's face turned pale. My father kept insisting there had been a misunderstanding, but the evidence spoke for itself. There was no way out. Then Grandpa revealed the final surprise. Several months earlier, he had quietly updated his estate plans. "I wanted to see who valued family and who valued money," he said. Everyone stared at him. The test is over. The people who had manipulated, excluded, and Lead would receive almost nothing from his estate. The family members who had acted with honesty and integrity would inherit the majority. My brother looked stunned. My parents were speechless. For the first time in years, they couldn't control the narrative. They couldn't paint me as the problem. The truth was sitting right in front of everyone. As the meeting ended, relatives began apologizing to me. Some had believed the lies. Others admitted they had been too afraid to question them. Driving home that evening, I felt lighter than I had in years. Missing Thanksgiving had broken my heart, but it had also revealed the truth. My family took away a holiday. Grandpa gave me something far more valuable: justice. And that was a Thanksgiving gift nobody could ever take from me.